podcast at Tibetan Kung Fu, episode 22. This is the podcast dedicated to our Kung Fu family, where we practice Kung Fu to be a better person first and a better martial artist second. My name is Sifu T.W. Smith. I'm the host of the show, and I'm really glad that you decided to join us today. Today's podcast is going to be a little off of the beaten path because I want to take a little different approach and also to share some things with you that's been on my heart a little bit and just lay it out there. If you're new to this podcast, beware. This is like stepping into a semi-private line. You're going to hear names of folks and people who have been around the Kung Fu place here for about 10 years or so sometimes. And we talk about things a little personal. This isn't a Kung Fu podcast about the secret finger technique or which system is better than this or this and that. It's about you. It's about me trying to get better, using the Kung Fu as a way to understand myself, to become a practitioner of both principles and of art. I wanted to share with you first what happens with me personally a little bit before I sit down here behind the mic to lay out what we're going to talk about this week. And I want to tell you that first, it's quite a bit of work. It's gotten better. I'm not going to say easier, but it's gotten better, starting to understand how it works and how to make what I believe is a better quality podcast than the one I first did. And trust me, I think about many times about going back and just re-recording those first 4 or 5. But I've been advised just to leave them as they are because they do demonstrate a sense of progress along the way. And I guess there wasn't any other direction I could have gone. But when I sit down here behind the mic and get ready to talk, I have thoughts of several of you who pop into my mind, so I speak directly to you in my mind and in my heart. But I really sit down and I think about what is important for me to share to those people who I'm responsible for and for those people who rely on me. And I weigh out a lot of different things. I try to listen during the course of the week or when you send me an email or a text and things along those lines, or as it was in our Kung Fu family, when you're sharing some of the bitter of life with one another. We really got to know each other and we relied on each other at a different level. So I have some things here today, and the first is I wanted to send a thank you out to Ryan, who came in, trained for the weekend from Chicago. He worked hard again over several hours with Miss Cat, who's the lead instructor of the Young Nine course, and Ryan got certified to teach the Young Nine up in Chicago. Ryan, you've been working hard, man, and it's been really good to see you make such progress and let us know how we can support you. For those of you who may have missed, Travis was in for a few days. Travis, thank you for coming in. It was awesome to see you, man, and I was glad we got to do some lessons and put in some work on your Xingyi and Yituan. Stay with that. Keep it as your primary practice. Stay steady. Take your time, and your Xingyi and your Yituan will get you in a much better direction of where you wanted to go. I have a couple other certification announcements to make, but I'm going to save those for a little later, maybe next week on another podcast. As a reminder, November 11th is Veterans Day, and during that week, all veterans who, if you happen to be here in the Raleigh area, that week you can come to any of the scheduled classes for free. If you're a student or if you're a listener and you know a veteran who's local to here, let them know. It'd be an honor to have them and to participate in some Tai Chi and Qigong with us. This past Monday morning, I released the Push Hands Tui Shao workshop video trailer, and that was a tough project for me. The Hop Guard trailer that I released a couple of weeks ago, that was just fun. I put together some things, had some material, put it together, put it out. We had a blast, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed watching it. The Push Hands video was a lot of fun, but it was also delicate. And the reason I say that is that there were a lot of people in that particular workshop that are very important to me. A lot of people who mean a lot to me and their effort mean a lot to me. And so I really wanted to do a good job with that. I wanted to put something out there that shared publicly what we were trying to do with the workshop and what we were doing in the workshop and what the students were practicing on and what the lessons were about. But I really wanted to make sure that I represented everyone who participated well. I felt like I did a pretty good job with it. But I wanted to tell you thank you very much for your participation and the opportunity that you all gave me to share and to experience, to teach and to learn through that workshop. Now, putting together all that material that Miss Cat captured, and if y'all know Miss Cat, when she gets her hand on a camera, everything is fair game. There was bukus of material to go through. But I found a lot of the material that fit the message, and I tried to put it together in a way that it was all synchronized, and then found a piece of music that actually went with the concept that I was having as I was putting the project together. Got their permission to use it, put it all out. But I was actually pretty nervous about putting that out. Thank you very much for your feedback, and I'm also really looking forward to December the 6th, which is going to be our next workshop. And if you got questions about that or if you want to participate, TibetanKungFu.net/push hands. The information should be there for you. Another project that's actually been pretty challenging for me has been the Sex Drive Qigong workshop, because I wanted to put together a special set of audio materials, both meditation and Qigong instructions, that is standalone for that particular program. And I got to tell you, that's not easy. Laying it all out, putting it all together, making sure that I have the right materials in a stepwise progress so that if you're participating in that particular coursework, that you have some things that not only you'll get on the day that we work together, but that you could use years down the road. Or perhaps if you wanted to or needed to, you share it with somebody you cared about. I really want to make sure that I do a good job with it and that you have the materials that you might need or want in the future. Now, several of the students who have been with me for years have oftentimes been a part of a couple of emails I've received or phone calls I've received, and they oftentimes hear me say the same things over and over again. I recently got another email that always reminds me of some of the things that I used to hear my Sifu go through. We get these emails, or you hear students say, "Hey Sifu, I want to learn the Hop Guard Kung Fu. I want to learn the Choli Foot. I want to learn the Xing Yi. I want to learn every form. I want to learn every technique. I want to be a master of the system." And the reality of it is that learning every technique and every system creates a lot of mental junk. You have to slow things way down and realize that it's not the techniques that you're looking for, because technique will never save you. You have to understand yourself. You have to be able to slow down enough so that you understand principles, strategies. They become expressions of self. And then every technique, honestly, comes to you. And many of the variations are already built in. They would just become part of the fluid motion. But whenever I get this email, like I did recently about I want to learn every technique, it just sends that almost disinterested feeling through me, because I know that it's a dead-end road. But you can't tell them that. I mean, you can, but you can't. You can tell them that, but they don't hear you, because they still believe that having an encyclopedia of information is more important than knowing a few things very, very well. Once you get a few things under your belt, then you can pick up other stuff on the side for as long as you wish. Anyway, whether you're my student or not, I encourage you, put aside the interest of learning every technique. It'll create more mental frustration and sometimes emotional guilt that you don't remember it when you need to, or that you can't respond to a fluid situation because you can't calculate that fast. Relax. Learn expressions. Take your time. And a number of things will come to you. And lastly, part of the Kung Fu family, where do you draw the line? Here recently, I've gotten several conversations with students and with my son in regards to, well, Dad, he did this, so I feel like I need to do this and that. He did XYZ, so I should do MNO. We go back and forth with these things. And several of the students who I work closely with will know the same thing that was taught to me is that you learn to draw lines, but not for other people. If you wait to draw lines for other people, you're always behind because now you're always reacting to what other people do, and then you try to draw a line for that specific personality, and it doesn't work. You're always reacting. You're always frustrated. In internal Kung Fu, you draw the lines, but you draw them for yourself. Then it doesn't matter which face or personality is on the other side of the line, whether it's family, friend, foe, someone you don't know. But when you draw lines saying, I'm not going to do this, or this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. When others either support or broach that line, then you're confident that you have something established for yourself and you know which direction to take. But I'm going to tell you, that's not easy. But it's the only way that actually works. And when you go through your life and you realize that the line needs to be adjusted, you make that adjustment yourself, and then everything takes a new path. It flows a different way. So if you realize that you haven't had a line in a certain place that needed one, take a stab at putting one in there somewhere. Adjust it as necessary. But putting a line in for your practice, so for example, a line for me in my practice is I have to do my posting every day. Irregardless of what goes on that day, irregardless of how many hours I have to work, or how many times my son might need me, I do my posting every day. If I can get in more, great. But I don't miss a day. The line is for me. It's not for anyone else. So I encourage you, set lines for yourself. Try to establish a standard. And it's not for anyone else. And if you don't feel like it's the right one, then adjust it. No guilt, no strain. Just make your adjustments and keep on going. Now, I know today's podcast was a little off the beaten path. I normally have a lot more material laid out in front of me. Today I walked down some bullet points and decided I'd just talk with you from my heart. I encourage you, whether you're a student of mine or not, put aside the need to learn every technique. Put your emphasis on your practice, your conditioning, and your training. Learn the strategies. Put less priority on technique. Put more emphasis on speed, being fluid. And then draw some lines for yourself. Set standards. Type of people you're going to hang out with. Type of work you're going to do. How you're going to approach your practice. How you're going to approach your life. In all honesty, these were things that I was taught and learned to be true over and over again in the internal Kung Fu. It's about you. So take your life and your day and make out of it what you want and what you will. But remember to practice your Kung Fu to be a better person first and a better martial artist second. This is Sifu T.W. Smith. And until next week, have a good one.